Hmm. Yes. Yes, I think it's that time again. Yes.
That's the studio audience. That's
Mhm.
the studio audience coming in
We
there.
just lit up the applause sign,
Yeah, we
so
just lit,
everybody.
lit up the applause sign. Studio audience coming in, and speaking of audience, if somebody's watching this, then you probably know one of us, or you're familiar with the with what the deal is here. But in case you don't know, I would be Kirk M. Samuels,
That's right, and I would be Jason B. Kendrick.
and we are indeed the Mad Men of Masculinity, baby.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversation for you. And tonight,
For you.
we're getting in the pool, baby.
Oh, we getting in the pool. We getting in the pool. We getting in the pool. Hey, you mind if I do a setup?
Do it.
So we happen to be collaborators and contributors to this particular here project here. One in the background there, Seven Secrets of Modern Dating, the he said, she said guide to getting from single to spouse. Um, and in that particular book, by the way, Amazon #1 in 7 categories. That's right,
Mhm.
baby. So if you ain't got one, you the only one. You the only one that ain't got one if you ain't got one yet. So you need to go on Amazon, search that bad boy, and you need to get on board, figure out what the deal is. I
Good
mean,
stuff.
I mean, there's single folks, married folks, people that have been together for a long time, people that that are looking for their person, people that don't know if they want to look for their person. Man, there's been all kinds of great feedback, and I'm so happy, so proud of that whole thing, man. And we collaborated on that whole thing, man. It's been a pretty good deal, man. I appreciate your input, your perspective. Um, there was a time when I was doing some writing and I was reading some stuff that you wrote, and it helped me in a moment that I needed it, and it was pretty much good stuff. So anyhow, so the point being, so the 7 secrets, the first one is work on yourself. The second one is get in the dating pool. The third one is get out of the dating pool, and then there's getting exclusive with the person, and then getting committed to the person, different than being exclusive. Get the book, you'll see why. And then there's discovery, the discovery process with that person, with your person. And then last but not least, the seventh one is going all in 100%, because any relationship that's 50-50 is doomed to fail. So you got to be all in when you get to that point. So anyhow, that being said, the second secret is getting in the pool, getting in the dating pool. And so this is under the presumption that you have done your self work, that you've done your mirror work, and you know yourself, you know who you are, you love who you are, you recognize that what you are is a work in progress, but either way, you've done the work, and now, and there's all kinds of tips in there about how to do that work. But then once you get past that, then it's okay. How do I get into the dating pool? How do I get out there per se, that quote unquote, to meet somebody or to meet that person or my person? How do I find my person? And so, man, here we are. So, man, you kicked it out the other day, and I was like, man, that'll work. That'll work about getting into the dating pool. So let me kick it out to you, JBK. First of all, I appreciate your input in that book, man. You got a lot of wisdom, and that's why you, my brother from another mother. Um, I respect you tremendously as a friend, as a brother, and I'm just looking down because I'm sharing this on my timeline here as we go. You know what I'm doing.
Well, thank you
Um,
very much for all of
we already
your
got six
positive.
shares on this thing. Hey, and oh, by the way, if you're watching this
Yes.
live, if you go to the Mad Men of Masculinity page on Facebook, you can type in comments and we can see them live. And if JBK is nice enough, he might even put it on the screen and we can even answer your
I
comment
might be able to do that.
or any of that kind of stuff. But you got to go. You can't do it on one of our pages. You got to do it on the Mad Men of Masculinity page on Facebook. So that being said, JBK, Jason B. Kendrick, the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. If
What's up?
somebody, they've done their work on themselves
Mhm.
and now they want to get into the dating pool, what are some ways they can get into that dating space where you have that person ain't coming to you on the couch. You sitting on the
Well,
couch eating
there's mail
flaming hot
order. You never
Cheetos.
know.
Yeah, well, if you, maybe I heard there's a Brazilian or a Russian thing going on out
Yeah.
there. I don't know, but maybe if you want if you want to roll that way. But the real person,
Yeah.
probably the best person for you, is not coming to you on the couch. So
No,
if they're on
not
the
at all.
couch and they want to get off the couch and get into some spaces where you want to meet somebody, what are some suggestions that you can think of for them?
Well, if you have picked up the book and you've read chapter 2, you know I'm not a big fan of internet dating.
I was going to give you a minute before we went straight there.
Well,
But
no, I'm just gonna just preface that I'm not a big fan of internet dating. I think
why
you
not?
waste a lot of I think you just waste a lot of time, and there's as guys we either don't share enough or we share too much, or just the analytics of internet dating for guys and girls. I mean, girls get 8 million likes and hits and um, interactions or messages, and guys will put out 100 and get none. And so it's just a numbers game, and it's not real. It's not real effective.
Mm.
Plus, you're only looking at a facade. You're looking at a picture. You're looking at a story. You're not actually getting a sense of this person. You're not getting to see all of them, because I know there's sometimes a lot of folks who like to take pictures from way up here, and they're not showing their full physique or who they are. And so just being in person, I think you get so much more information so much more quickly. You get an energy, you get a vibe, you can actually feel who this person is. Um, so I am just a big proponent of being out in the world and getting out and dating and meeting people in person. That being said, if you are getting off the couch, maybe going out in person is scary. So finding something like an event or a group or something that you like to do, and I think that was the biggest point I made in the book, was find something that you're passionate about and go do that, because not only is it something you like to do, but you're going to find somebody who also likes to do it, and bam, you have something in common. You have a shared passion, you have a shared energy already, and you can get to know each other doing those things, which means first and foremost you're going to be more yourself doing something you enjoy, and they may be more themselves because they're doing something they enjoy, and you can do that together. And then you'll find you'll get a sense of the energy, you get a sense of the vibe, you'll much more quickly see if there's chemistry, intellectual compatibility, emotional compatibility, and those things. And so I'm just get off the couch, get out and do something. I mean, if you need to join a bowling league, a pool league, I mean, whatever your thing is, get out there and do that. And if you're going out there necessarily to meet somebody, maybe that's not the best mindset. You want to be out there and be open to be yourself, so you're not hunting or whatever, and you can show who you are best. But you never know. I mean, networking is an amazing thing. You get out there and you meet some people, you meet a cool group of people, and then one of them goes, I know the perfect person for you. I need to introduce you to my friend so and so. So even if you don't meet that person directly, you might be introduced to them through that. And so my biggest advice is always get out there, get out in the world, get in front of people, and find something you enjoy to do, and then you'll find somebody who you have something in common with. I mean, immediately that way.
Mhm. I tend to. I mean, I agree. I also kind of have a different perspective. First of all, I mean, I have been in that dating space. I'm currently not in that dating space. I have done the pretty much every form of dating, of getting in the pool. I've done multiple dating apps. I've done social groups. I've done friend meets. I've all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, I have a lot of experience in all of those areas, and I tend to think that online dating is not necessarily a bad thing if you keep it in perspective. If you and really, from my perspective, any one of the vehicles or avenues that you can go down to meet people in the dating space, it should be one tool in your tool belt. It should be one avenue, or I mean, almost like if you were in sales, you have kind of different channels and different ways of prospecting and all those kinds of things. And so, I mean, I think if you keep it in balance, you can have different, different perspectives, but it could just be one aspect of it. I've had a lot of failure or a lot of disappointment or frustration with online dating, and I get that. I've also had success with online dating, and so I get that as well. I just think you kind of have to keep it in perspective, and I would recommend, if someone has the capacity to make that one avenue of your kind of dating platform, your dating landscape. Um, I absolutely, I mean, online dating, you get kind of the snapshot, or at least somewhat of a snapshot of a person. You can kind of get I'm going to say a broad view. It's more of a 15, 20,000 foot view of the dating pool. You can see what kind of people are out there, especially if you're busy. You can, kind of do some of that on the go. So you can see a large number of people in a relatively easy period of time, kind of like being in an airplane. You can see a whole city, whereas the one-on-one interactive stuff, the in person, you'll see a smaller subset of people. But in theory, especially if you, like you said, you're doing things that you like, then it'll be people who are probably more real. Because yeah, on online dating, it's all an avatar. It's who we present, the pictures and what you say in the bio. And like I said, I'm not hating on that because I've experienced success in that area. So I think there's a way to do it correctly. But I think commonly, we just kind of mass consume everything, and that's one of the ways that we mass consume it. But I mean, one of the things that you and I had experience with, and good friend, Danielle, if here in Colorado in Douglas County area, started up this Parker Social group, and it's kind of not a meat market, but it's generally single people getting together to do stuff at local bars and restaurants, and I think. Matter of fact, I think it's like in the next couple of days there's one at
Thursday, right?
and I think it's Thursday. And so, but great opportunity to meet people, just to socialize and converse. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to just talk and be a human. And
that's a great point that you say that, because it just sparked. If you have been on the couch or you have been inside working on yourself, you may be a little rusty.
Mm-hmm.
You may need to get out and just socialize, and that's actually another good point too. If you are going out to meet somebody, sometimes it's a good idea to talk to other people first. It's like grease the wheels, get the mouth moving, get your brain moving, and so doing stuff like that may be even a great way for you to kind of get back into just socializing. Period. I know for a lot of us, I mean, after COVID, most of us been on the couch and ear hair growing out and wearing nothing but sweatpants and not looking our best and hadn't talked to a real person in months and months. And so actually get out in person is like, oh, people, let me touch you. Oh,
and then there's the aspect of just your social IQ, I guess you could say, just being able to talk and converse with people and interact, and especially on a social setting. And there's nothing wrong with having a conversation with somebody, not feeling it, and moving on to another conversation with somebody. And it's not a failure. It's just, it just is what it is, especially when it's a no pressure kind of environment. So, I mean, I think that's a huge skill that we have been lacking in the past couple of years, and getting out and getting personal around people, is huge.
Yeah, I think it's just it's something that, like any muscle, it atrophies if you don't use it, and so getting out and just being social, finding things to do, getting out. I'm notorious to be a lone raiser. I take myself to the movies by myself, and not because I don't want to go with people, but a lot of times it's just a scheduling conflict. So I take advantage of like the Parker Social Club and the B-men groups and bowling leagues and races and stuff, just to get out and talk with people, because it is. I mean, sometimes you find you haven't talked to a real human being in weeks or a month, and then when you finally start talking to them, you realize you have so much you want to share that you have to kind of stop it and cut it off and edit yourself. And so getting a little more practice of, okay, how do I edit? What do I share? How do I keep the story interesting? Those little things. That's just practice.
And then you just got to be social in general, getting out with your friends, getting out with, like you talked about, getting out with, we hang out with, guys with around B-men and that kind of, where it's obviously it's not a dating setting at all, but it's just conversating and hanging out with folks and all that kind of stuff. And hell, for that matter, you and I have gone to a movie in the last, few weeks or whatever, just a couple guys go to see Batman, right? I mean, but at the same time, getting out, getting social and all that kind of stuff. I didn't like when you tried to kiss me at the end of the date. I thought that was a little bit too forward, but
well, I didn't like when you put the popcorn, so whatever.
You trying to move a little too fast. You know what I'm saying? I got a longer runway than that, man. No, I'm kidding.
That's a good point too. If you are a guy, hang out with other guys. They'll let you know how you're communicating. Guys, most of you guys, especially if they were your friends, will help you to learn to edit and communicate if you're just out of practice. So that's always a good thing, especially for guys. Like, get out with other guys and start talking, and grease the communication wheels and get a little more practice, because that will help you stay authentic and in a good flow and good mindset, and keep you from being too I'll say awkward. I wanted to say weird, but I didn't want to be awkward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, but and you know, to my fault, I got to a point. This was years ago, when I was kind of in that online dating scene. Anyway, I was doing so many coffee dates that I mean, it was all a mile wide and an inch deep. I mean, there was no. I mean, I would go from one right to the next, right to. There was no investment in none of that kind of stuff, and it was just consuming the process, and it was just unhealthy. And then I realized, man, I got to get out of that, man. That ain't cool at all. So let's pivot. All right, so that's that whole concept of getting out of your space, getting out of normal space, getting into new groups of people, new
Yes.
spaces, new activities, and all that kind of stuff, and letting the universe and fate to kind of do what it does to meet the person or meet a person, and maybe, like you said, meet a friend. I've met great friends that I started
Mhm.
off with the coffee date from a website. um but okay, so let's pivot, because once somebody gets into those spaces and once they start to see and interact with other people in the dating realm, then it comes the eye opener of, okay, this is what it's like out here in the jungle. Like
Mhm.
this is what it's like being a lion in the jungle. I don't know if lions are in the jungle, but whatever. This is what it's like being out here. Tigers go in the jungle,
Yeah.
and so once people get out there, then there's the whole eye-opening experience of, first of all, we've all been in pandemic mode for the last couple of years, so we all
Yeah.
are kind of a little bit awkward. But then secondly, especially those of us that are in our 40s and maybe we got some past or whatever, that okay, that dating pool may be a little bit different than what you expect. And so
Yeah.
there's maybe some advice or some warning signs,
Mhm.
um as we kind of close out this whole conversation to a degree. When I say close out, that's like, okay, we'll be another 10 minutes. But anyhow, so then there's the side of the advice to folks. And
Mhm.
so what about some advice to men and women that are getting into the dating pool?
Well, if you've done your work and now you're getting out into this pool and you're talking with people and you're seeing where the interest lies, one big thing, and this is something that I had to learn the hard way, is be interested more than interesting. You
Mm,
want to make sure you listen and ask questions and find out who this person is that's across from you, much more so than you're trying to sell yourself. Be yourself, and be far more inquisitive. Find out who they are, and for several reasons. One, you get to find out more of who they are. You get to hear if they are compatible with you or you have similar interests. Plus, you may find out what the deal breakers are much quicker than
mhm,
if you're sitting there running your mouth talking about how great you are, trying to sell them on you.
mhm,
Be more interested, and and
mhm,
and in that way, of course, you do two things. You get to find out who this person is across from you. You get to learn about them and find out all those things about them. But you also become suddenly a great communicator just by listening, because most people haven't. There's a lot of times where they're so used to fighting for attention or fighting for their chance to speak. If you can just stop and listen and ask interesting in-depth questions, then you can go deeper. And you're a great communicator. They're gonna be amazed by somebody who can actually sit and listen and hold a conversation. So that's my number one biggest piece of advice is be more interested than interesting.
mhm. Hmm.
What you got, man? What do you think off of that?
Man, I was thinking about this a little bit earlier today when I was on my way home, and there's really no way around it. I just want to keep it real,
Do
and
it.
this might be, it might be a little straightforward for some folks, men and women, but at the same time, I care, and I want to be pretty straightforward, and I want to just keep it real, even if it hurts some folks' feelings. Um, you know, when you're getting out into the dating pool, I think collectively, as a dating culture, as a dating demographic, I would say turn down the volume on the fantasy and turn up the volume on the reality. So what that looks like is, men, um, turn down the volume on the fantasy of what women are in
Mm.
terms of our culture, and I believe, a practical application of that would be, get out of spaces where you fantasize about women, whether that's being in an online, fantasy about women, consuming women. I think I even said it pretty clearly in the book. If you want to be serious about finding a long-term relationship as a man or just as a person, period, but in terms of getting out of that fantasy space, turn down or turn off. I mean, and you know, I'm a turn off in particular for this reason. You know, turn off your porn activity
Mhm.
because that gets you into fantasy mind. Turn off your, you know, your simping on women on social media. You know, there's a lot of narcissims out there that just want to show whatever. They just want to get likes. You know, they care more about likes than love. And so, you know, turn all of that down in terms of the two-dimensional being of a woman, and don't be impressed by the surface, because a lot of women can present great on the surface, but they're really ugly as soon as you get beneath the surface. So turn all of that down and allow. Don't get impressed until you see the fourth dimension, not only the height, the width, and the depth, but the soul of who she is. Let that be attractive to you, not just what they can present or not what they can do with a, you know, a twist or a pelvet or none of that kind of stuff. So I would say turn down the volume on that, turn up the volume on the reality that, you know what, I mean, just because it looks good don't mean it is good. You know, a whole lot of cake will just give you, you know, a lot of women are a lot of frosting, but no cake, right? And the frosting will just give you a cavity and a sore stomach. Um, and so we got to get out of the space of, because when you fantasize, man, you just want to chase and you just want to hurry up and close the deal and all that kind of stuff, and about the approach game and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, back off from that. You know, I mean, you know, just let it come to you to a degree. So anyhow, I'm kind of straying away here a little bit, but so fantasy turn down, reality turn up from a women's perspective. So I was pretty straightforward with the guys. So ladies, we need to turn down the fantasy on who you think you might be and turn up the reality on who you really are. um, I know that in our culture it's kind of counterintuitive for, you know, for anyone, women or men, to be critical about women, right? I mean, but the hardest thing for a woman to do sometimes is to look in the mirror and to see, okay, I got some stuff, like I got some baggage, right? And a lot of things that women do, particularly online and all that kind of stuff, are for other women, not for other men. What I mean by that is being a boss babe or a boss bitch or having all that kind of stuff. That's not attractive to men. Like that's not a turn on. I mean, all of that kind of, all of the stuff that you think is cool to present online to, you know, to that space, that's not, you know, that's not reality. But work on you, work on the stuff. And if you're the one of the ones that keep ending up with the same loser kind of guy, then maybe the problem is not all of the loser kind of guys out there. Maybe the problem is you have a bad picker, and maybe that's something that needs to be addressed. You know, if you got some junk in your trunk, if you got some baby daddy issues, or if you got some kid issues, you got some whatever, you got to recognize that, you know, there's some dings in your car as well. And so turning up the reality of every guy should not be perfect. Knight in shining armor means he's never been in a fight. So, you know, so get out of the mentality of I'm looking for Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect don't exist. And you ain't perfect. You got junk in your trunk. You probably got more baggage or luggage than you care to admit to perfectly.
Yeah.
So keep all that in perspective. So anyhow, I rambled, but turn down the volume on the fantasy, turn up the volume on the reality in terms of setting the groundwork. I work and I speak to a lot of women that are in the faith-based community and like in Christian circles and that kind of stuff. And what irks me is I'm like, if you want a perfect guy, okay, go find Jesus. He ain't on the website. He ain't on the. I mean, that ain't who you're dating. I mean,
Or get a dog.
stop looking for the perfect guy. I mean, it doesn't exist. Look for, there are plenty of good men. And the people that say there's no good people out there, there's no good women, there's no good men, that's because you have the volume really high up on the fantasy and really low down on the reality. And recognize that, man, you know, you want to find the best person for you, and then put in the mutual work to make that happen. So
Yeah.
anyhow, I went on and on, but that was
Yeah.
kind of my
It's time
take.
for time for my 2 cents of reality as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we talked to the guys about this quite a bit.
Mhm.
You know, you want to stay in your lane. You want to find somebody who's within your demographic, whatever. For the guys, and also for the ladies, the fantasy of the big six. You know, the 6 figure earner, the 6 foot, 6 pack abs. Yeah, we'll leave the other six out of there,
Yeah.
but that's about 2 to 3% of the pop. Actually, if you add all those together, that's 1% of the population. So you're leaving
Mhm.
99% on the table. So get out of the fantasy of I deserve this amazing magical man, because that guy who meets all that criteria has 99% of the women chasing him. So he probably doesn't have time for you. Also, look at what you're bringing to the table. Because I know a lot of times we hear, I tend to do a lot of research, watch a lot of manosphere videos and things, and we see a lot of ladies who are very successful, who are 30s and 40s, and they just can't find a man, and it's because of that natural, like, I need a man that's above me. And so look at where you're at and what you're bringing to the table, because a lot of times what you're looking for may not meet where you're at. Plus, as men, we don't value the same things that you do. You look at a man as a kind of a support vehicle. How much does he make? Is he strong and capable, and can he provide? Those are not the things that men are looking for. We're looking for agreeableness. We're looking for somebody who's supportive to us, who can be our cheerleader. And do you see yourself as that person? Can you be that person, or are you getting stuck in a lot of the was it the femisphere or whatever? I don't know what the terminology is, but there's a lot of ladies saying you're a queen and you deserve the castle, but are you coming in presenting with all of those things as well? And this is the same for the men. I know what I find the most interesting and the funniest is that we have a lot of capable men, but they don't present themselves well because they don't know how. And I get that a lot because I tend to be comfortable. I like to wear my hats and hoodies and be comfortable when I get home off work. But I have suits and I can dress up. And now the Parker Social Club, that was what the main comment I got was, "Wow, you clean up well." Like, and I laughed about it because I tend to be comfortable but how are you presenting yourself, guys? Are you cleaning up and are you showing up? I know we want to show ourselves as we are, but we also want to show our better side as well. So a lot of these ladies, they're looking for that better version. They're looking for the best of you. So present as best as you can. Show up and be the best that you can be. Because when you meet the right person, they're only going to make you better.
Yeah.
So that's not the best you can get. That's the best you got right now. But show that.
Yeah.
That will get you a lot further and a lot quicker.
And hands down, I mean, it should just be almost a law at this point, fellas. Don't send a picture of a body part if ain't nobody ask you for a picture of a body part. Don't. I mean, there's some basic stuff that but to me that speaks of a guy that doesn't hang out with a whole lot of guys. I mean, that doesn't have a sense of, okay, etiquette and, like, being confident in who you are and all those kinds of things. And so, I mean, all of this that we're saying is obviously our opinions, obviously our perspective. Obviously, we're speaking in relative generalities from our experience of working with other people. Yeah. I mean, we've been around the block a few times, and we have our experience and perspectives. But either way, I think it is so. I mean, you should have an abundance mentality when you're in the dating pool, in terms of there are plenty of great single people out there, and there's probably a great person for you to meet that is that is the right one for you, that can bring peace to your life and balance and complement. And if you have all of this stuff, do you really need somebody with all of the same stuff, or do you need somebody that brings what they have together and you can do some stuff together? And so
bring the best of yourself, but also bring your real self, and have a bit of a in the mirror reality check, a come to Jesus meeting with yourself, and know what you're bringing, know yourself. And if you did the inner work in chapter 1, you would know what you got, what your triggers are, what your attachment style is. You would know these things, and that's what you can present. And so you're finding that match, that harmonic piece that does fit with you. And it's not about being the same. It's not about making the same amount of money or being the same height or whatever. It's about finding that person that makes you happy and you're compatible with, and that you can create that harmony with together, which will make you both better. But that comes from self-awareness and a bit of reality. And I know a lot of us get stuck in the online fantasy world and then go out in the world and go, this doesn't look anything like what I saw online.
Well, duh. I mean, man, I part of that, doing your personal work, is also when you also can know kind of I'm going to say the opposite of you, or the complement of you, because opposites attract, polarity and all those kinds of things. So if I know my personality type, I know personality types that don't jive with that. My attachment style, same thing. I mean, you go on and on and on. So learning and growing. That's why all of it started off with doing the you work, so that you know that you're amazing, that you're awesome, that you have a good heart, that you don't need to do things to manipulate somebody or to whatever. That just being you and showing up in the complete fullness of you is perfect for the right person. I always say I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but if I am, it's sweet tea.
Yes, sir.
And that should be perfect, because you don't want to have to change in order to be somebody, because then at some point in the relationship it's like, well, you used to be this and you used to do that, and how come you don't do that anymore? That's because they were fake in the beginning trying to get into a relationship. So
Yeah,
anyhow.
so all you nice guys out there that we've been talking to for 3 years now, when you go in there and you simp and you bend over backwards to make this girl like you, and you're doing the job interview thing and just trying to be interesting, and then 3 months later she can't stand you because she never knew who you were in the first place. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Just be yourself up front. That means being funny if you are. That means being intellectual if you are. That means being quirky. Just be who you are. Find out who they are. Ask questions.
Yeah.
And this way you'll find somebody who jives with you, because as we said in the book, and I think we've said before on here, the right person will like you because of you, not despite you. They'll like your quirks. They'll like those things that make you uniquely who you are. And if you're not presenting that, how are they going to know? How are they going to find out who you really are if you're not presenting that? So be that. Be who you are.
And it's amazing to be that out of the gate. And then you don't have to worry about remembering who you were or who you used to be or what you used to say and all those kinds of things, man. I think that's amazing. So if we line up on the runway here and bring this thing in for a landing, we're on final approach. We're lining up on runway 32 left. And we're coming in for an on-time landing. Then so where do we end with this whole thing, man? What's your perspective?
Well, now you've done your inner work. Hopefully, you know who you are. Get out in the world and start presenting that, and do that with friends. Do that with same-sex, people, so that you can grease the wheels and get used to socializing again after our lockdown, and do things that you're passionate about. Do things that you love and enjoy, so that you can be around like-minded people, and just be yourself. Be realistic, but be yourself, because I guarantee you, if you're being yourself and being realistic, you're going to be surprised. A lot more people are going to like you than you think. And I think that's the biggest thing, is we have this overabundance of inadequate feelings about, oh, well, I'm not good enough because I'm not 6 foot tall. I don't make six figures. I don't look like this. I don't look like I used to. That doesn't matter. It's always about the inner self. It's always about your soul. Bring that to the table and show that off. What about you, man? What do you think?
Man, like you said, it's doing the work on you. If you have some stuff, if you have some baggage you need to get rid of, you need to get rid of that baggage. Come in clean, come in clear, come into the dating scene free of all the bricks that hold down your balloon, free of all of your addictions, all of the ways that you used to medicate your problems. Just free from as much as possible from the weight of your past, all those kinds of things, man. And then enter the dating pool. It's like a highway. There's a whole lot of on ramps, and then just enter and get up to speed and just flow with it and just be you. Somebody is gonna like you exactly the way you are, like I said. And by the way, women, not every man wants a skinny woman. And I would say that probably at least 51% of men do not want that Hollywood stereotypical look of a woman. Some of us, yes, some of us, we like something to squeeze and something to hold to. Some of us we like. Never mind.
We want that country girl 7. All right.
Some of us, some of us. So don't think you have to conform and you got to go change and you got to go get all fixed up and done up to get a man and all that. Don't think you got to go lose a bunch of weight, or don't think you got to get 1 million injections in your forehead.
Don't do that.
All those kinds of things. You don't think you have to go do all that. You want to be the best you, but the best you is the one that's beautiful on the inside. Beauty is skin deep. Ugly goes all the way to the bone, and wounded goes all the way to the soul. So fix all of that, and then get out there and just no pressure. Just be you, and let the greatness that you attract the one that you're meant to be with. So now, how can people, if somebody wants to do some inner work, especially like some guy, if he wants to do some inner kind of guy work, and he's like, man, I really vibe with this guy, Jason B. Kendrick. How does he get a hold of Jason B. Kendrick?
Well, you can go to the website, You'll find my phone number information there. You can message me on Facebook or Instagram or on the YouTube channel, and we can start a dialogue that way. And you can also connect with both of us if you come to some of the B-Men events, and you can have a nice discussion with myself and Mr. Kirk M. Samuels here, the Intimacy Incubator, the baddest man on the whole planet right now, doing his thing. And if people want to get a hold of you, sir, since you have the 7 Secrets of Modern Dating website up, how would they get a hold of you personally, directly?
Yeah, so that's actually a website for, well, it was my starter website for the book, and so that's there. Which ironically, both of our contact information is on there, and our bios and all that kind of stuff is on that website. But like yours, mine is kirkmsamuels.com. Men of Masculinity on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, social media, all that kind of stuff. Kirk M. Samuels, and so pretty easy to find. We want to be here. We believe and we're passionate about masculinity. When we say we're crazy about masculinity, it's not that we are local, it's that we are passionate about it, and
I'm mad about it.
We were mad about that whole thing, and so mad in a good way. Like we want to see connection, we want to see intimacy and relationships and all that kind of stuff happen in the best possible ways, and so that's what we're here
Amen.
for. So JBK, I love you, brother.
Thank you, sir. We will see you
studio
guys
audience,
next time.
studio audience. Thank you, studio audience.
Thank you, studio audience.
For coming out. Studio audience.
We appreciate
all of you get a copy of the book. It's under your seat in the studio audience here on the way out.
You get a book, and you get a book, and you get a book.
You get a book. Yeah. So, all right, brother.
See y'all later.